Welcome back to Stock Explorers. Today, we're diving deep into Luminar Technologies, a company making waves, lots of noise lately, especially in the autonomous vehicle world.
Yeah, definitely capturing attention, and for good reason. I think a lot of the buzz is stemming from their work with LiDAR, that tech, enabling vehicles to really perceive the world in 3D using lasers.
Exactly, and you really can't talk about Luminar these days without mentioning that viral video, the one by Mark Rober, the former NASA scientist. That sparked, quite a debate about LiDAR's place in the whole autonomous driving thing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Robert's video pitting a Tesla relying only on cameras against a car with Luminar's LiDAR system really showed us the potential strengths and weaknesses of both. So the LiDAR car navigated some tricky situations like thick fog and obscured road markings with, impressive accuracy. And the Tesla, well, it struggled, even failing to spot a child-sized mannequin.
Yeah, and that part with the mannequin, that really got to people, right? It brought up some very serious questions about just how safe it is to depend only on cameras for autonomous driving.
It did. It really did. And for Luminar, well, the video meant a stock surge. Biggest jump in months, actually. Really put them, and LiDAR generally, right in the spotlight.
So let's break down what Luminar is really doing. They're not just making these sensors, are they?
Nope. They're going for something a lot more comprehensive. Luminar develops LiDAR sensors, sure, but they also create the software, the AI algorithms that help vehicles understand all that sensor data. So it's really a whole ecosystem built around this LiDAR tech. That's a big difference for them.
Got it. So it's LiDAR plus the
Yeah.
brains to make sense of what the LiDAR sees. I do think it's important to clarify something for our listeners. We've talked about Tesla's approach, just cameras. And while Robert's video showed some possible issues, Tesla's system has had a lot of success.
Totally. Tesla's been a pioneer in autonomous driving, pushing the limits of what camera systems can do, no question. However, I think many experts feel a multi-sensor approach, which includes LiDAR, is vital for reaching those top levels of safety and reliability.
So it's not so much that one technology is just flat out better, but more about understanding what each is good at and where they might fall short.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where Luminar comes in. They're betting on LiDAR and specifically their iris sensor as essential for truly robust autonomous driving.
Let's talk about that iris sensor then. What makes it different? We know there are, other companies out there developing LiDAR systems.
There are, for sure, but Luminar's iris sensor uses a 1550 millimeter wavelength laser. That gives it a couple of big advantages. First, it has a much longer detection range, especially compared to those using 905 millimeter lasers. I mean, we're talking about picking up cars almost 930 feet away. Huge for safe driving at higher speeds.
That is quite a distance. What about performance in those tough weather conditions? Seems like a key worry for autonomous driving.
Absolutely. And that 1550 millimeter wavelength shines there too. It works better in fog, rain, snow, the kind of stuff that often messes up camera systems. And importantly, it's eye safe, even at those higher power levels that Luminar uses. That's crucial, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you think about autonomous vehicles sharing the road with pedestrians and cyclists.
Those are some strong points for Luminar's LiDAR. But we mentioned they're not just hardware focused. They put a lot of emphasis on software too.
Right. They have a whole software suite they've developed called Sentinel. It analyzes the iris sensor's data, uses these, complex algorithms to figure out what objects are, how they're moving, to provide this really detailed picture of what's around the vehicle.
So giving the car a deeper level of perception, of awareness.
Yeah, spot on. And they're not stopping there. Luminar is also using AI, artificial intelligence, to boost their systems even more.
AI seems to be everywhere now. What's its role in Luminar's tech?
Well, they're using it in a few ways. First, it helps make the object detection and classification more accurate, more reliable. The software gets better at seeing people, cyclists, other cars, and all the different road features. Then, AI is used to predict how those objects might move, essential for safe navigation. And finally, AI helps the system get a more nuanced understanding of the whole driving environment. Things like traffic patterns, road conditions, factoring all that in.
So it's moving beyond just seeing to really understanding the world.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. And to get these advanced AI features, well, Luminar's partnered up. They work with Scale AI for data labeling, really important for training their AI models, and they've teamed up with NVIDIA, the leader in, high-performance computing. That gives them the power to run these really complex algorithms.
So they're not trying to do it all alone. They're using the expertise of other companies to move faster.
Exactly. And these collaborations, they show how strategic they are. Partnerships are key in this industry. It's changing so fast.
Speaking of partnerships, Luminar has some big deals with giants like Volvo and Mercedes-Benz. What do those mean, and how do they help Luminar?
These partnerships are, they're everything for Luminar. First, they provide a clear path to large-scale production, getting into the market. Volvo, for example, they're putting Luminar's LiDAR as a standard feature in their EX90 SUV. That's huge for Luminar. Access to Volvo's production, a global customer base.
And it's not just about numbers, right? Volvo's known for safety. If they choose Luminar as a standard feature, that's a big endorsement.
Oh, for sure. It says a lot about how much they trust Luminar's LiDAR. And then you have Mercedes-Benz, another luxury brand, reputation for safety and performance. Their decision to use Luminar's tech in a whole range of vehicles by mid-decade, that's another big validation.
It seems like these partnerships give Luminar a lot of, well, credibility in the industry.
They absolutely do. And it's not just about looking good, it's about real money. The Volvo deal, estimates say it could bring in billions as EX90 production ramps up. And Mercedes-Benz, their partnership is wider, potentially even more lucrative.
So it's not just good press. It has a serious impact on their bottom line.
Exactly. And beyond the money, these collaborations actually speed up how their tech develops, how it gets refined. Working closely with these big car companies gives them tons of real-world data, feedback, helping them improve constantly.
It's a win-win. Car makers get that leading-edge LiDAR tech, and Luminar gets the validation, the money, and all that data they need to keep growing, keep innovating.
You got it. Those partnerships, they really work both ways, and they put Luminar right there as a key player in the whole autonomous driving scene, which is changing so fast.
Now, we talked about Volvo and Mercedes, but Luminar also works with companies like Mobileye, NVIDIA, and Pony.ai.
Yeah.
How do those fit into their overall plan?
Those are all about expanding, reaching more of the autonomous vehicle world and building up what they can do. So Mobileye, they're the top guys in advanced driver assistance systems, ADS. Putting their expertise together with Luminar's LiDAR, they can make even more sophisticated, more comprehensive solutions for car makers.
So combining strengths to offer something better.
Exactly. And with NVIDIA, it's about using their AI and computing power to boost what Luminar systems can handle.
And what about Pony.ai? They're more on the software side, right?
Yeah, they specialize in software for robotaxis and autonomous trucks. That partnership lets Luminar get into new markets, new uses beyond just, passenger cars.
It's like they're strategically making connections everywhere to cover all the bases in the autonomous vehicle landscape.
That's it. They're building a whole ecosystem, not just a product. That's what makes them so interesting to watch and follow.
It's been fascinating learning about their tech, their partnerships, all of it. But there's another side to this story we need to look at, their financials. And that's what we'll be getting into in the next part of our deep dive.
Yeah, we'll be taking a closer look at how their revenue's growing, their path to actually making a profit, and the risks along the way, including all that, the competition in this fast-moving industry.
Join us for part 2, where we'll keep exploring the world of Luminar Technologies. Welcome back to our deep dive on Luminar Technologies. We've talked about their LiDAR, their partnerships, their whole vision for, autonomous driving's future. But now, got to face the music, right? Their financials.
Yeah, and it's kind of the classic story for these high-growth tech companies. Mixed bag, On one hand, their revenue growth, it's impressive. In 2025, they hit $121.08 million in revenue, a big jump from $71.73 million the year before.
That's almost 69% growth year over year. Not bad at all, especially with the economy being, well, not exactly amazing lately.
Yeah, they've definitely bucked the trend, in some sectors at least. But like you said, there's another side to this. Despite all that revenue, they're still working towards profitability. Their net loss for 2025, it was a pretty big $219.08 million.
Classic growth phase, right? Putting expansion and market share first, profits later.
It's a common strategy, especially in disruptive industries. Autonomous driving, that's definitely one of them. They're spending a ton on research and development, getting production up to scale, building that global presence. All that takes serious money, which often means, well, losses in the short term.
But the big question, of course, is can they turn this into sustainable profits down the road? What's the long-term outlook like? Do analysts think they can make it work?
They're cautiously optimistic, you could say. Their projections show that Luminar could hit profitability, measured by positive EBITDA by around 2027. But that depends on them keeping that strong revenue growth going while also getting more efficient, managing costs well, all of that.
Okay, so there's a path there, potentially. But 2027, that's still ways off. And like you said, they're burning through cash pretty fast right now.
Yeah.
Can they keep spending like that and still reach those goals?
Yeah.
What are the risks they're facing?
That is, I mean, that's the million-dollar question, right? And that's where it gets a bit more complicated. There are a few things that could throw them off track. Their current financial stability is, yeah, it's definitely a concern. High debt, they're relying a lot on equity sales to get more capital.
And those equity sales, they bring money in, but they also mean dilution, which worries existing shareholders.
Right. Their share count's already gone up quite a bit since going public.
Yeah.
And they'll probably need to do more of that as they look for funding that can hit shareholder value, potentially make investors, a little less confident.
So it's a balancing act. They need cash to grow, but got to think about how it affects their shareholders too.
For sure. And besides those financial risks, there are, operational challenges that could get in the way. Scaling up production to actually meet all that demand from their car maker partners, that's a big one. Making those LiDAR systems efficiently, keeping costs down, but not sacrificing quality, that's tough.
And even if they nail that, there's the whole market to consider. When are governments going to approve all this autonomous vehicle stuff? Are people even ready to trust this tech? It's still up in the air.
You're right. Those are things Luminar can't control, but they still have a huge impact. Delays in regulations or people just, not being comfortable with the tech, that could slow down how fast everyone adopts autonomous driving, including LiDAR.
So they've got challenges coming from all sides, financial, operational, market related. What are they doing to deal with these risks and set themselves up for success?
They're tackling them head on. They've started cutting costs, aiming to save around $80 million annually. They've also renegotiated some of their debt terms to make things a bit easier financially.
So they're trying to improve their financial standing.
Yeah, and they're working closely with their car maker partners, to make sure production scales up smoothly, that their systems are integrated into vehicles on time. That helps avoid problems with the supply chain and make sure their tech is actually ready for mass production.
Sounds like they're really focusing on those key partnerships.
Absolutely. Those are crucial in this industry. And it's not just car companies. They're also talking to, regulators and industry groups, trying to push for policies that support, safe, responsible development of autonomous driving.
So they're playing the long game, realizing that to win here, you need to do a lot of different things.
Right. They get it. It's not just about amazing tech. It's about navigating the market, building trust with everyday people and helping shape those regulations.
It's a pretty complex journey they're on, for sure. And they've done some incredible things, but there's still a long way to go.
Oh, definitely. But what we've seen so far, it shows they're approaching this with the tech smarts, the business sense, and a deep understanding of the whole industry.
It's a story that's still being written, and the next chapter, that's going to be the big one. In the final part of our deep dive, we'll look at Luminar's long-term growth. What's out there for them. We'll check out the competition and try to answer that big question. Is Luminar a company worth investing in?
Join us then as we continue to explore Luminar Technologies and what's coming next for autonomous driving.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've looked at Luminar's tech, their partnerships, even dug into their financials. So now it's like, time to look ahead. What's in store for Luminar?
Well, it's a future with lots of potential, but also some uncertainty, right? One thing that's clear is the market they're in, it's ready to explode. Globally, the LiDAR market is expected to hit like almost $10 billion by 2030.
Wow, that's a huge jump. But a growing market doesn't automatically mean every company wins.
Yeah.
How can Luminar make sure they grab a big chunk of that?
It comes down to those partnerships, I think. We talked about Volvo, Mercedes-Benz, but those are just the beginning. These collaborations, especially with those big car makers, they're not just about money now. They're about making Luminar the go-to, the trusted name, so their tech gets used everywhere.
It's like a seal of approval, right?
Yeah.
From the biggest names in the car world. Volvo, with their whole safety focus, if they're willing to go with Luminar, that tells other companies something.
Exactly. It's proof, not just hype. And it's not just, regular cars either. Luminar's branching out, working with companies like Daimler Trucks, going after that trucking market. And then there's Pony.ai getting into the whole robo-taxi scene, which is growing like crazy.
So casting a wide net, trying to be like the LiDAR solution for everyone, every part of this autonomous world.
Exactly. Not putting all their eggs in one basket, right? That's going to be key with all the unknowns in this industry.
But let's be real. There are a lot of companies out there all wanting those same deals, those contracts. What makes Luminar different? How do they stay ahead of the competition?
I think it's a mix of pushing the tech forward, innovating, and being laser focused on who they're selling to. Their iris sensor, it already has some amazing specs, that long range, the resolution, the eye safe
We'll
thing.
talk about that, yeah.
Yeah.
But tech changes so fast. What are they doing to keep innovating?
They're putting a ton of money into research and development, always trying to find the next big thing in LiDAR, new materials, better algorithms, even looking at how LiDAR could be used outside of cars.
So it's not just a better sensor, it's a better whole system built around it.
Yeah, that's where the software and AI focus comes in. They're making software that does more than just, process the LiDAR data. They're using AI to find objects, classify them, predict how they'll move, even understand the little details of the road environment.
So they're not just giving cars eyes, they're giving them a brain to understand what they see.
That's a great way to put it. And that combo, the advanced hardware, the smart software, and those partnerships, that's what makes them stand out in this competitive world.
It's been really interesting diving into Luminar. We've seen their potential, the big names they work with, and even, the financial stuff where they're vulnerable. But the big question I think for a lot of people is Luminar worth investing in?
That's a tough one. And it's really a personal decision. Every investor has their own, risk tolerance, their own goals. No doubt Luminar's in a market that's going to grow a lot. Their tech is impressive. And those partnerships, they've got a good shot at success.
But we can't ignore the risky parts, right?
Yeah.
Their finances, they're not in the best shape, burning through cash, lots of debt. And the competition, it's tough out there. No guarantee they'll come out on top in this LiDAR race.
Yeah, that's all true. Investors need to be careful here, do their research, look closely at the numbers, and really get what the risks are.
It's high risk, but potentially high reward too. But if you believe in the whole future of autonomous driving and you see what Luminar's doing, how they're approaching it, it might be an investment to consider.
It's a story that's not finished yet. No guarantees, but it's definitely one worth watching.
That's a great way to put it. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Luminar Technologies. Hope you found it useful and interesting.
It's been great sharing all this with you.
And to everyone listening, thanks for being here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into, the company's changing